Welcome back to the Minnesota Dynasty. My name is MrHurriicane, and today we're going to recap the off-season live stream for Season 6 that took place a little over a week and a half ago. As usual, a little recap of the season, and then we'll jump into the off-season and preview the upcoming season, which, by the way, Season 7 marks the very first time I'll have a Season 7 on my channel, so it's pretty exciting to see a series go this deep. But Season 6 was a lot of fun and very successful. Even after Andy McKenzie went down in Week 1 with a broken tailbone, Andrew Johnson, the walk-on quarterback, he was a senior. He steps in and helps lead this team to national championship glory with a much improved defense and a pretty wide range of supporting cast members on the offense. A lot of good backs and a lot of contributing receivers. But the cool thing about this team was that we became very good without having one or two star players carry the team. If you look at the stats, there's a lot of very similar numbers through all our players. Now, Marcus Woods was maybe our best defensive player. Matt Smith stepped up in the secondary. But when you look at the offense, it was a full team effort with two backs having 900 plus yards. Martin Parker had a solid year receiving, as did Doug Duckett. But not many big years for players. I mean, Marcus Woods is the one that stands out most to me, but this was a true team, and a team that is going to be very different heading into next year. I've talked about it in many episodes, 19 seniors graduating, and a lot of starters. So we're going to see a very different team defending this national championship next year. Now, heading into the offseason, we already had a very solid class with some holes still to fill. But you can see the board, a lot of very good players there, and Aaron Higdon had been the #1 guy on the board since the preseason. He was one of the top backs in the nation, a big 255-pound bruiser who has some speed and athleticism. This was going to be one of the biggest off seasons with trying to defend this national championship and having so many players move on. Looking at last year's team, a lot of very good standouts on defense became All-Americans, including guys like Andre Gaines, Maurice Hudson, and Marcus Woods. Corey Boyd also gets some love. He's one of those guys who's actually returning to next year's team. But not much from the offense, probably because not a lot of yardage standouts or touchdown standouts. This was a very different offense than I had envisioned, with Andy McKenzie being the quarterback for the second straight year and having plans change immediately after Week 1. Overall, an extremely successful season, but it's time to move on. Heading into the Season 6 off-season, Hurricane Sr. remains at the University of Minnesota, having coached 80 games and now winning a national championship, but we lose our defensive coordinator. Our defense became a major strength, and Scott Hazelton is now the head coach at Cincinnati. Now Phil Bennett becomes our brand new defensive coordinator, so he will impact our players differently than Scott Hazelton, and we'll see how much of a difference that makes. Now, two players leaving, a lot of graduates as expected, no juniors leaving early, but two freshmen are trying to transfer. There's Max Harrell, a defensive tackle I was hoping would stick around, and then Emmanuel Harrison, who kind of got lost in the shuffle with all the great outside linebackers I recruited last season. And Leon Daniels is gone, and he cannot be persuaded to stay, so we're moving on from the Leon era, but trying to keep Max Harrell here. I planned on having him play quite a bit, but he's moving on. That's what his heart tells him to do, and we'll work to find his replacement. Now to draft results, and there's our guy Doug Duckett going in the 7th round. We have 3 guys overall get drafted: John Meyer, Doug Duckett, and Matt Smith. No Kevin Martindale, kind of surprising to me, but that's 3 guys which will help us recruit now that pro potential gets a little boost. But now it's time for the real moment of the truth of the offseason. Now, with 19 seniors graduating, 2 guys transferring, and only 11 guys so far in the committed for next year, this was really key because I wanted to get Aaron Higdon very badly, and to do so would require a lot of points. But if I focus too much on one player, miss out on a bunch of others, then we begin to get holes in many areas of depth on both sides of the football. I mean, we had 8 guys graduate from our offense and 7 guys from our defense. So it's 15 guys that have to be replaced, and of course a couple of those guys replacing them are Andy McKenzie coming back and Alonzo Holland. But I knew I needed some tackle depth and a tight end, so Vincent Smith and Zach Turner were priorities, and then a backup quarterback so it's not a walk-on. And then we just see it's signing day. And we have landed Aaron Higdon and Vincent Smith and a host of other players. I was extremely excited and surprised to see such a successful offseason recruiting session. We got even Terrence Williams, an outside linebacker. Wasn't sure we'd get him, but we did. Michael Gunn, some defensive end depth. Charles Daniels, now it's not a walk-on quarterback. Missed out on a couple guys as you would expect, but we just got the #1 recruiting class in the country. There's no messing around here. 25 guys in our recruiting class, and it couldn't have been better. We got 3 of the top 12 running backs, a bunch of pass rushers, some really good depth for the offensive line. I was really happy with how this all turned out. I would have liked some more athletes. They're fun to use. Only got 2. Nick Wilkerson ended up being a receiver who may be one of those receiver running back hybrids depending on where our offense is at the time of him actually getting some playing time. But that is the best offseason recruiting I have ever had. Now to training results. How much did everybody get better? And we got Andy McKenzie coming back from his injury and hopefully getting ready for a dominant junior season. We can see the arms gotten stronger. Hopefully Andy can stay healthy. There's some good talent around him with Alonzo Holland entering his senior season after being a JUCO transfer and breaking out last year. Maurice Pratt, the speedster, is even faster. Jared Rollins can fly. I have plenty of confidence in Martin Parker, but questions about the rest of the receiving corps because most of those guys haven't played much or at all, and then Mark Green takes over for Adam Kirkpatrick, or do you play Vincent Smith, the junior college transfer tight end? Offensive line keeps a bunch of their starters and they get even stronger, which will definitely be needed to keep Andy McKenzie healthy, especially the interior of that line. And then on defense, of course, replacing all these starters, it's going to be a new look defensive line with new pass rushers coming off the edge, Greg Kelly and JUCO transfer Jason Harper. They're both first-year Gopher players, and then we have Jonathan Starks returning along with Maurice Hudson, but still have to fill in that opposite outside linebacker spot. In the secondary, Jared King goes from nickel to starter, much like Matt Smith did. Watch out for Joe Bennett, who's one of my favorite prospects on defense that hasn't played much. He's a sophomore, and he's going to be starting on the outside. Safeties I'm okay with. Corey Boyd returns, and we've seen Taylor Larson before as a third safety, so I have confidence in him. But before this roster gets finalized, we have to make a few cuts. We have a 75-man roster, have to get down to a 70. First up is Aaron Sims, a defensive end who's not going to make the team. Ali Barber, a defensive tackle, another one of those lowly depth players. Mark Smith, a possession receiver. He's not going to really break out with this core of receivers we have. Go to linebackers, and Keith Campbell will be cut, so we have one more to go. And it sucks you have to keep 2 fullbacks because then I had to cut Kyle White, who was just kind of the low man on the totem pole there as a backup guard. I wish I could have cut the fullbacks, but couldn't do much about it. So there is the top of your roster now, and as you can see there, all the players on the top, they've all been redshirted. I believe in redshirting freshmen, letting the older guys get some playing time and develop your younger talent. One exception this year will be Aaron Higdon. He is going to play. We're going to find some roles for him. A couple receivers get redshirted, Brandon Jones and Nick Wilkerson, Marcus Williams, the tight end. Pretty much any backup who's not going to get at least a couple snaps a game is going to get redshirted, and you can always take it off, so there's little to no risk in redshirting a young player. And you can see there's not really too much surprises here. It's not like a junior or a senior all of a sudden got redshirted and we're going to get an extra year out of them. It's basically all freshmen and nothing really of note. Now to the schedule. And the first thing you're going to notice is a pretty tough out-of-conference schedule. We start off against Hawaii, Cincinnati, and then #1 LSU. Yes, they're #1 over the defending national champions. We'll try to change that. And we also have the Cincinnati game playing against our former defensive coordinator, Scott Hazelton. Cool storyline there, but we open up the season against Hawaii at home. It would have been fun to play in Hawaii, but we're going to be playing this one in TCF Bank Stadium. Here are your preseason rankings for the top 10. You can see our offense is down to a B+, our defense at an A-. We'll just have to see how all these new players step into their roles, but expectations will be high after the national championship season, and here you'll see a few minutes of practice And I'm sorry I was dumb and deleted the entire audio track, because I didn't need the audio for the menus, and I forgot I had gameplay here for practice, so I screwed that up, my bad. But you're seeing a few new faces, and of course a lot of familiar faces, and Andy McKenzie making his return to the practice field after his broken tailbone ended his season. And here's one guy joining him this year, it's Aaron Higdon. Like I said, he's got some size and some style to his game. And here's Andy's new guy in the air, it's Martin Parker. No more Doug Duckett, it's going to be a little bit different. Martin Parker needs to have a big year. Helping out Andy McKenzie in the running game is Alonzo Holland, who's not going to look too good against this defense with how many hard hitters we have. But we have a couple guys who could definitely break out this year. How about this catch by Terrence Johnson? Corey Boyd all over him, there's Joe Bennett, and somehow he still wrestles in this grab. But I believe in Martin Parker. I think he can be a true number one wideout for us. He'll still play quite a bit in the slot, as I do quite a few formation subs, and every year I add new packages to the playbook so we can spice things up and fit the offense to our team. But hold on a minute here. You need to get familiar with this guy quick. That is David McClelland, who was a junior college transfer and was redshirted last year, and he's number 2 because he will be our first two-way player, playing cornerback and wide receiver. Not starting at either, but he's going to be the number 3 guy in both instances because he is so talented. He has 6'3" size with 4'3" speed, and he can cover, he can catch. He's going to play in a lot of different situations. Another guy to get familiar with is Vincent Smith, who had a fantastic session of practice here. You're going to see a few really nice plays, and I may have to consider starting him early over Mark Green, who hasn't really emerged as much of a receiver for us. Look at this catch, working on Jonathan Starks. Might get him a pair of gloves, though, looks kind of awkward. Andy McKenzie, however, firing rockets all over the field. He's looking great. There's a catch for Henry Hooper, a guy you guys probably haven't heard of before, unless you really are in tune to the offseason. There's another one, Lee James. Same situation as Henry Hooper. Here's some Spencer Cooper throwing it long to Jared Rollins. But the vertical offense is going to be back this year, and I can't wait to see how much different this team looks with Andy McKenzie back in the fold. It's been too long. I missed Andy McKenzie, and I can't wait to kick off Season 7. This team is ready to defend their title. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed this edited version of the offseason. I want feedback down in the comment section. What did you think of our offseason, and what do you see in store for the Minnesota Gophers in Season 7? We kick off in Week 1 at home against Hawaii, and I'll see you guys then. I'm not sure if I'll do a montage video for this offseason. If you guys want one or don't, just let me know in the comment section. But I'm thinking about maybe just jumping on to Week 1 and getting going with that. But thank you again for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe for more Minnesota Dynasty, and join me on the road to 100,000 subscribers. I will see you guys next time. Have a great rest of your day.